All right. Hey, thanks for tuning in for my Wednesday development stream where I'll be working on phpstan-drupal. phpstan 1.0 came out just a few days ago on Monday, and I tagged a compatible release, but as you can see here, a lot of the CI's workflows are failing just due to some testing infrastructure that I need to rewrite. So I'm going to be cleaning that up today so that way we can have forward traction on new features for phpstan-drupal. As my Wednesday streams have been for quite a while now, it's sponsored by Palantir.net, a remote first agile company that gives back to the Drupal project and community. Not just only Drupal projects like Drupal core and other contrib modules, but the community as a whole via conferences and even these live streams that I've been doing to work on Drupal Rector, upgrade status module, and phpstan-drupal. So that's pretty awesome. They do have a job opening for a Drupal engineer. So if you are looking for a Drupal job and interested, you can go to their website, www.palantir.net, and apply today. So thanks, Palantir, for sponsoring these and continuing to renew them. It's been super fun, and it's made a lot of forward progress on phpstan-drupal than if I was just doing it in my free time. So let's get this rolling. Let's go see. I know I started doing phpstan analysis on the tests, and that's where a bunch of these errors are coming from now. So I'm just going to work through. Let's see. I know one thing that I have to do is let's get through here. This analyzer test base. This is how I was running test code before, and I basically need to kill this and use the one provided by phpstan itself, and I'm really close. I'm down to just 2 tests. So I want to look at this entity test class. So data entity samples. I think this was to test entity fields. Let's see. Test entity fields and target ID reflection property. So this is me trying to test these reflection properties that we have. Where entity field reflection says that if we're getting original, return a content entity. Howdy, howdy. Thanks for tuning in and always hanging out. Or if it's a config entity. And then is subclass of content entity. Get a field item list. So it handles the dynamic, a lot of this dynamic code that Drupal has with a lot of magic methods. It's trying to provide reflection for these. So the good question is, I don't know how to properly test reflections without actually scanning the code. So let's see if I can get over to github.com, not PHP, the source, but phpstan and source, and see how phpstan itself tests its own custom reflections. Actually, not even that. Let's go to phpstan Symfony. That's probably a good example. Or we could look at Laristan, the Laravel one. Test rules Symfony. That's default map type Symfony. There's no special reflections in here. So let's go to phpstan and dig it. Oh, thank you for the subscription. So let's see what we got. The Net framework, Web Mozart, Assert. It's probably easier doing it through the phpstan website. Oh, and if you aren't aware, right now, if you go to the phpstan website with phpstan 1.0 released, I'm going to put this in the chat. You can actually buy a phpstan t-shirt and badges. I went and bought one. For warning, if you're shipping to the United States, it's about 24 euros. So I didn't actually look at what the final price was on my credit card when I bought it, because it's not so much like who cares about the shipping, it's supporting the project and having the t-shirt. All right, so let's go to excuse me, documentation and the extension library. So I want to find it where extensions have reflections and work. So let's see. So stubs, source type Mozart, type specifying extension. That's not what I want. Source reflection. Okay, great. We have reflections. It's like HTML method reflection. So how are these tested? tests, reflection. All right. So great. We have an example here. We've got the phpstan broker, which is deprecated, but it's still being used here. Why? This broker get class name, class reflection, assert extension has method. All right, let's try to rewrite this test. So entity test class, what does this extend? It phpstan test case. So let's extend the phpstan test case and data samples. We don't actually need to have the data samples in here. Let's try this out. Magical getters, original properties. So let's do a test on, let's collapse these and try to clean this up. So we have the magical getters. So let's do public function test entity field magical getters. Returns a void, not v, void. So extension, we'll go ahead and do this. That's HTML flat class reflection extension. I want to make sure I might need to even clean up what I have. So let's go source, reflection, HTML class reflection extension, HTML method reflection. Let's see, what are these? Well, no, that's just spam right there, and I don't know how to report it. One second. Oh, I've got the dashboard on my phone. I just want to get rid of that spam message real quick. All right, so I've got a field reflection, entity fields via magic reflection extension, has property, get property. So this could be, that's part of it. And then entity field reflection. Man, I wish I knew, get readable, writable type. All right, so this class is used somewhere. Return new. Okay, so the magic reflection extension. There we go. Well, it's reconnecting the chat, so I can't even get rid of the spam message. Oh well. Just deal with it. So really this test is, let's restructure this test entirely. So we're gonna make a new directory called reflection, and let's make a new test specifically for the entity fields via magic reflection extension. So just copy that name, reflection, new file, test.php. Let's copy some namespacing. So it'd be tests, reflection. So final class entity fields reflection test extends php stand test case. And let's go see what's being tested here. So we have has property, get property. And that's the same thing happening here. Has data method, has method, extension, has method, get method, has property, get, okay. So let's do we're gonna test has property, public function test has property is a void. And let's look at the original entity fields. So let's go entity data samples. So magical field getters. The test does a create broker, get class name. So we want to source that file and reflect it. So we'll do private extension, and then in a setup is a void. We'll say this extension equals new entity fields the magic reflection. So then we can do a self assert true, or rather not true, has property. Yeah, has property. So let's do has property. We'll do assert equals assert same. We'll say string property, and then bool result. We'll copy this here. We'll say result. This extension has property. We'll need to get the class reflection. Say null and then property. So this broker get class. We'll have to do a we'll do self. Yeah, we'll do this get this create reflection provider, because that replaces the broker, which gets the container. All right, so we'll say get class, and we'll call it entity field magical getters class. We'll try this. Reflection equals. Now the test case, test class, undefined access to property, value. Let's see. Oh, because it was testing all of these here. So test entity. Ow. That's not working out. That's actually not entirely what I wanted to do. So let's look at has property. If has native property, let other parts of phpstan handle this. So let's try to test. So if we were to take the entity test class, let's copy this reference, and we don't actually need that getter class anymore. We're going to just test against the entity test class, and let's create a data provider. Data provider is entity data. Data has method. We'll rename that to data has property. And we'll do there. Let's do generator. So we're going to do a yield. And we'll say, let's see. Entity test. What properties are actually in the content entity itself? Can you call protected? Let's see, the get method does this fields, this values. Okay, so get goes into taps into fields, field definitions, return this values, and original gets set dynamically. This original that gets fetched from values. So there are no public methods on it, actually. Entity should not have any public method, any public properties, so we can skip that part of the test. Where it says has native properties, so reflection. If it implements content entity interface, we just return true. And otherwise, if reflection implements field item interface can handle property, we return false. So we will do yield content entity supported. And let's do even string class. So we're going to have the class be part of the test property as well. So we have the class, and we'll have this be entity test class. Let's see. Just say foobar, and it should return true. So if we run this, hopefully it doesn't crash. Not found. Let's rerun it, and hopefully, no. All right, I gotta figure out how I have some of these other tests running. So bootstrap test. Here we go. So why don't we let's see, rules. These additional config tests. Where's Drupal rule test case? I'm gonna create a trait. So or no, I don't know the best way to do it. Rule test case. That get additional config files comes from phpstan test case. But what's inside rule test case that adds bleeding edge configuration? I don't know the best way to share this line of code, and I've had to copy it around a handful of times. And this line of code ensures that Drupal is discoverable, and I thought about maybe we should just make a trait. I'll try that out. So let's do additional config files trait.php. First, let's run this, and then I'll work on the trait. File not found. Drupal test reflection. phpstan neon is missing. That is correct because it is another layer up. Namespace. What is my namespace for the test? So, okay, so that passed. Trait additional config files. Trait. Let's copy. Let's copy this into here. And let's say use additional trait. Delete this line here and see if it passes again. So I'm going to test has property and then get property. All right. So it looks like we can use that trait. So we have test has property. Bool. I want to do more. So let's bump this also to a has property, and we'll do get property. So is get property do? Get property. Property name should be handled earlier. Entity field or entity field list. Entity field reflection. Property name. Test get property. Get property. Say property reflection equals. And oh man, I feel like actually for getting, I'm gonna have it be something different. I want to have more specific tests, but we'll just test out this has. So let's move this right. All right, so has if it has a native property, let phpstan handle this, which technically entities do not have any public properties. If we go to entity base, it's all protected, even inside refinable and the sleep. Okay. Synchronizable entity trait is syncing. Yeah, that's all public protected. So entity trait is supported, returns true. And if it's a field item list interface, can handle property. Okay, so here this adds some defaults. So one thing we would need to add like support for the address module here. You know, like entity value target ID and entity the address item has multiple different properties that are available, and this only handles a few. So let's do content entity supported, and let's do config entity not supported. So that actually, yeah, config entities have public properties. So let's go look at that entity test class, and there should be something in Drupal core. Entity test. Ooh. Is there a config entity test in here? Excuse me. Entity test bundle. These are all protected. Config entity base. Public. Protected. Is new. Set. This set. Enable. Create duplicate. Sort to array. Sleep to URL. I am missing something here on how entities work. ID UUID bundle to URL. Blah. Create duplicate, get entity type, post create, all the hooks. Hashtag load, create. To array, get type data sleep. I thought with config entities, you could access properties on them, but how? Config entity base. I'm going to close out some entity test bundle, entity test. Content entity base. Let's go to config entity base. Protected, private, public function. Why do I feel like config entities have more power than I'm imagining? So payment gateways in Drupal commerce are config entities. Do we really have protected, and we just have methods to access everything? I thought like wait label plugin ID. I guess maybe everything is set property name. Oh, that's right. We use set. So config actually has set and get properties. That's it. And that's how this is set up to work. So we should get false here. So what is it? Entity test. Oh, jeez. 1 second. All I want to do is scan a config entity base. Here we go. This config type, copy reference, and run this. We should get false. So it's one of like, there isn't a way to say that this is supported or not. It's just we bail out early. So that way something else can, that way phpstan itself can decide. The entity reflection methods, so that's what we have. So if it's a native property, and then if it's content entity, we support the get and the magical getters, and also field item interface has magical getters. So let's do field, let's just say field item list. Just take the core field and we'll copy that reference. So yeah, that's right. This entity field's magic reflection handles all the wonderful dynamicness that Drupal provides in its entity system. So yield field item list. Class, and this is where we check if it can handle certain properties. So we say that it's entity. Actually, it's one of those like, oh man. Technically, entity is only supported on entity reference, but I'm just going to document the code as it works. Entity, I'm going to put a, so we have true, and we have target ID. Then we also have target ID, and we have value. What we need to do is really entity is only supported on entity field item list, whatever it's called. But if we were to go and say that the value is format, right? Like text long item has value and format as properties. This is going to end up coming back false, and we'll say to do support more properties, right? At least we're documenting. Like the test should document the current state and where you want it to go, in my opinion. And that's what I'm attempting to do here. Oh, error. Oop. Format. Great. So now we've tested the has property, this entity reflection. And now we're going to test the get property, which is more in depth. So do public function test entity field reflection, property name. So I feel like these need, so we're testing the extension. Now I can just test these actual methods on their own, which is exactly what is happening inside the not entirely. It's just testing the extension. Has data method, has method, get method, assert same, method reflection. So maybe I'll do that. So let's really, what I think might be the problem is I have this class doing too much. The fact that it says if it's a class that I need to have like content entity reflection and then field item interface. Let's do to do split into entity and field item specifics. I'm not going to do that here because I just want to get the test passing. Although I feel like I should, but not. So test get property. So test entity field reflection, get writable type, get readable name. So do test get property entity void. So do reflection equals this. excuse me. Entity test class. This. Create reflection provider, get class, entity test class. And then we'll say class reflection. And then this is a do property reflection equals this extension get property. So any property returned from this should be of entity field. Let's start with original. Oh, class reflection is class reflection, and the property is original. We'll just do. I'll bring this back over. The split screen is not making it any easier for context. So let's do entity field reflection. Well, let's just do a. Let's say that the property we want to get is field my field. So we'll do self assert instance of. So we expect this to be a, if it's a subclass of content type content entity interface, we expect it to be a field item. This interface from property reflection. So let's run this out. Let's try it one more time because I have noticed there are bugs the first run through. No. Oh, shoot. Property reflection, get declaring class. I think this would be it. This declaring class instance of, nope. New object type. So what do we want to do here? So get readable type. So maybe that's the, we want the get readable type to string, accepts, get constant, get greater than, get the readable type. It's a new object type. Class name. How can I get access to the class name? This class name. Excuse me. So object type. You say property reflection, which returns the object type. Readable type is going to return. Okay, so here's what we got to do is readable type. Here it will assert readable type instance of object type. And assert that the, there we go. That should do it. So we get the readable type, verify that it's get class name. Field asserting that Drupal core field item list interface is an interface of, oh, instance of, oh yeah, the assert equals. Sorry, we got a string, so I want to assert that the strings are equal. Now we should pass. Okay, so we get back that we get a field list item interface. The entity field reflection. The readable type is object type of field item list interface, which would allow us to then do further inspection. So get property, entity field reflection. What is get writable? So I guess the get writable is about the same. Can change after assignment is public, true, readable, ternary logic. deprecated. No. Definitely a lot of work could be done here for static analysis inside Drupal, but it's very basic for right now. So let's copy this for this to be the writable type. So we want to verify that the writable type is the same because we allow setting it with another value. Although actually, I guess that's not true. For field my field, so get writable type. Hold the phone. Writable type is property reflection, which is field item list. Correct? Entity, no. I have not pointed phpstan-drupal at core. I believe Andy Post has. I haven't tried to do that yet. I've pointed it at client code and tried to write rules that way. Oh shoot, yeah, phone call I need to take, but I'll pause on that. All right, I'll get writable type. If should be field item list interface. The problem is, yeah, I think that's correct because field item list allows receiving random data. This could be a problem area. So I'm just going to add it to do. Drupal allows entity field my field equals string. Does this break that? But it's passing, and that's the main thing, is just to document how it works, so that way as we improve, we break test and we figure out if that's what we intended to do. So now we also have support. So we have support for custom fields, and now the next step is to test the it does support at least like the original test. So original property reflection equals this extension get property class reflection original. And this is one of the huge things to support, because in Drupal, whenever we do a save, we stash the original entity inside of the one being saved, so that way it can be fetched for inspection. So original, so we have readable type equals original property reflection get readable. Assert readable type instance of object type self assert equals content entity interface class readable type get class name. And that passes well. And what I want to do is, if it is set up that if it's a config entity, we have the various tests, but I don't know if I want to. I'm not going to go too far into it because this needs to be refactored as a whole. So I guess we're proving that we're getting the reflections, and that makes me happy. Oh, I want to test this out. For the field item list reflection. So this test get entity property. Now we need to do public function test get property field item list. So I do want to test this. So class reflection equals what gets us to here? Just field item list class. This create reflection provider get class property reflection is this extension get property class reflection, and we'll do value. So value comes back as a string type, which is also wrong because if it's a man to do, this is wrong. Oh no, I guess not. Like integer, boolean, decimal, etc. all use single value property. Like that could be wrong. We just need to be smarter about it. So assert. So we'll do readable type equals reflection get readable type. I guess I could have found a way to do this. Self assert instance of string type class readable type. Let's run this. So that passed. Let's do the same. So target ID, D, and then entity will be object type. If we test format, this will be a null type. The fallback, run the test again. All right, so that passed. I'm good enough with deleting this entity test class then. Entity field original property, yep. Dynamic field getters. It should be good enough. Because we were proving that label, we can do get first name and value. Access to undefined type. Oh, that's right. First gets us an unknown class. This doesn't fail. So this one passes, but when you have some mixed chaining with the methods, that is what errors out. And I think that's completely fine. So I'm going to delete this class. And I'm going to make a commit. Directly test entity reflection extension. It's entity field reflection extension. Yeah, I wrote it somewhere. I think I did a blog post about the 7 different ways you can access the same field value from extremely verbose to the shorthand from gets and sets. You know, it's one like I wish we would have got rid of field list, it documents type data instead of field item. There's lots of inconsistencies. And I would have been a fan if we just dropped the first get like the methods and just had it be completely like magical. So if we just were like Laravel instead of trying to have explicit methods that people use, but it is what it is. You know, it's the best decision made at the most most time. Man, I didn't even make a branch for this. Oh well, I committed it to main. Let's make a branch now. Get new branch fix head, which is probably a branch name. Oh, it's not. So let's go ahead and analyze our test base. I've got one more class left, Drupal integrations test. And I made notes of all this to do that I have to test out. And I don't want to do this. We had so many bugs with auto loading before that I had tests that kind of analyze random things, which is this bootstrap test, kind of. Nope, that's not it. So let's see. Drupal integration test, that's right here. Service provider auto loading test. Well, let's try this out. Let's just rename this to be Drupal auto loading test. Rename inheritors. Yes. So we have a dummy rule, which just returns no errors, but the whole point is to make sure that there's nothing reported about auto loading problems. So we'll do that here. So this test service provider, we had issues before where the service provider was not being properly auto loaded. Let's run this class and see if I can I want to get this to fail. Besides that first run, it's like phpstan has like a cache. All right, so there's that passed. And if I were to go to the autoloader, and we do service provider, if file exists, camelize, class service providers. I don't even check if the file exists. But let's just not set it. And this better fail. If it doesn't, I'm going to be very... Oh, wait, no. Never mind. Name, module. This just adds it to the service map. Man, why was this... Before this was erroring, it would not auto-load. No, why did I have to have a test for this before? Oh, well. Let's just copy over... We'll just copy over some of these files here. So this can be removed. I feel like this was causing an error due to the constant name, but let's run these. Oh, unable to detect Drupal at, rerun it. What was that erroring for? Something was causing that to error. I think, oh, yeah. So here, I had to define this constant. I think that was what was crashing it. No. That annotate. Or maybe people were saying there's errors and it wasn't, and I just committed it. Man, I wish I could remember now, but that was 2 years ago, not a year and a half ago. So I'm not all too sure. Extension suite auto loading. See, did I make this let's change this to test analyze. Let's make this an array called paths. And wrap these existing ones in arrays. So that way I can copy this here. So we had issues auto-loading the test suites. All right, thanks for the resubscribe. It's very much appreciated. So analyze all these paths for extension suite auto-loading, because this was having errors before. And the hard part is I don't even remember how to replicate these errors. So I'm just going to copy in verbatim. This one again. Object of class unwind exit cannot be converted to string in unit test case. I was having this with the functional test case as well. When loading, I'm doing the include. Okay. So module with tests. Let's ditch that. I wonder if it's because I have PHP unit is analyzing code that then launches a PHP unit. Let's see, cannot be converted to string in kernel test case. Interesting. So for the record, I'm having issues with another test where this is happening. Let's do to do commented out files cause error on unwind object to string. Then I'll delete. And that only started happening since PHP stan 1.0 too. So I'm not sure. Extension reporting error. Let's just add this as another basic file path. Because before I was like verifying that certain rules were caught when analyzing the code, but now we're moving past this. Oh, abstract doesn't warn on static constructor. Let's just run. We'll add this one into here. Let's see, Steam setting file, because this was complaining that it wasn't being auto-loaded previously. So I should be able to test that one. Let's go to the autoloader and theme settings.php. Let's turn that off. I want to get something to fail here. That's reasonably a failure to make sure that things are loading correctly. But it didn't. Why? Because before it would throw an error saying that it wasn't loaded and it couldn't be analyzed. Let's do theme settings.php. Let me give it a name. I'm going to do a quick little, I can't even debug that. That's going to be enormously hard. Well, I'm just going to trust that it's working. Oh, I don't really like that though. So trigger error, path invoked out of. So where's Drush integration? That's not it. Bootstrap test case, expected warnings. So maybe this is part of it too. Drupal autoloading test, this analyze. Let's see here. Let's try this as well. Thing is that this didn't trigger an error. Oh no, that's right, path loading. So that trigger error would be caught by this bootstrap test. We don't need to actually copy that. It's just, it didn't error and it used to. Oh well. App pseudo service. So this test that the app.root can be determined, which should be a not reflection, a type, Drupal service container. It might be that one. Because before it wasn't being properly analyzed. Let's do get blame. Test app. So what did I, dynamic service return. Here, that only was part of it. Add test. So all I did was add a test for it. I'm just deleting it because the test doesn't do anything. Well, it does something, but now, so this module load include rule. Load include. So this verifies that a file is loaded. So this needs to, this load includes and module load includes does need a test. So rules, we'll create those. And then that should cover it. So we need a load includes rule.php. Oh, test. Let's rename that. Test. And also a module load include rule test.php. Analyzer test base. I'm going to go ahead and there's only one class implementing it. I'm going to go ahead and delete it. And that leaves this test with module load include fixture. We'll go through there. And let's see. Is there an easier, smaller? No. Final class, module load include test, extends, Drupal rule, test case. Get rule. Return new module load include rule. Shoot, it needs the project root, which I can get from better yet, extension load include. So argument is that one there, so it should just be a self get container get parameter. It should be that easy. Then we'll do public function test rule. And this analyze. What's the path? So this is just module load include. Which is this function here, module load include, and verify that. And you can only run one test at a time. Which kind of doesn't fix our problem. The whole point is to be able to verify that this file is loaded. Locale.bulk after hitting module load include. So I need to be able to test two rules at the same time, but this doesn't allow doing that. It says this analyzer. Let's just override it. So since it's private, we should be able to just override it. Oh, that's a huge copy paste. That kind of ruins the point of extending rule test case in the beginning. But not this part. I just wish it was easier to test two rules at once. One second. Let's see. Module load include. Well, we would get an error if it wasn't available. So let's just do that. Let's keep the test as is. Module load include. We're not going to have all this extra stuff in there. Let's do run. Run it again, and we'll add an example here of loading something that does not exist. Params equals Drupal return params Drupal root. Why only one test? So because in phpstan, this test is set up to, in phpstan core itself, the rule test case is intended that you test each individual rule separately. In Drupal is just weird that we kind of like need to have two tests, but sometimes we need to have two rules that run, or rather I just want to cover my bases as much, and it might not be necessary. So for instance, and actually if you need to run two rules to prove something works right, you probably have to write a better rule. So if I did, this file does not exist, I should now get an error that says translation does not exist. And if I don't, perfect. So here, file test cannot be loaded from module load include. We now prove the rule exists. We don't need to verify that the function is available, which means I can delete this Drupal integration test. And that was line 10, I believe. Yeah. Oops. This is an array itself. Let's put this on a new line here. There we go. Okay, great. So yeah, so we don't need to have two rules because we should be testing all of these things, and actually we could improve it because module name, if is not set in modules, wait, so this should be an error as well, that module does not exist. So let's do return error that the module does not exist. We're just gonna run one more time, and then we'll test the load includes rule test. It's basically the same thing, but it's using the module handler with load include. Perfect. So let's copy, paste, load includes, and in my fixtures, load include. All right, so we'll fixtures module load include. That's actually just phpstan fixtures. So new rule is just load includes rule. Run. Again, the caching. Oh. phpstan fit. Oh. There we go. Great. So there is an error. There's something in here that has an error, the negative test. So let's just update this. So it's actually line 30. Great. Love it when I actually include negative testing. And again, we're going to add a comment here that says to do, excuse me, return error that module is missing. I'm going to run PHP unit. And while that runs, I'm also going to do a let's run source inspect code. Inspect the code and hopefully get some feedback from phpstan before I push. Everything was good locally. Problems. Oh boy. Dummy rule, entry point, quality tools, phpstan validation, 2-week warnings. Has no type specified. I guess that. Previous error handler, what does this return? Say it's callable null. Array. Since we're not using PHP 7.4, we can't do actual type hinting. Extends. Generic type, Drupal test case, relative test class. Drupal test case is not generic? What do you mean it's not generic? Oh, template. Oh, okay. T rule of phpstan rule. What? Hold on. I want to try to do the same. Maybe that will fix that. Strict comparison, static. Okay. Oh, hold on. phpstan test case. This is broken. That's an undefined method. Deprecation rules test. I'm going to ignore that right now. Unreachable statement only terminates. Yep. Property has no type specified. Class not found, not found. Yep, that's because it's not set up right. Has parameter any type with no type specified. Is string. No. Update PHP comment. Mixed string. Because the storage class is always a string. Which we can actually declare here. But string is allowed. Mixed is somewhere else. Oh man, object prophecy get name. What about these extensions? Prophecy. So the problem is that phpstan prophecy exists to fix this analysis, but it is not compatible with phpstan 1.0. As a port for phpstan 1.0. Let's change 10. Yeah, that's gonna be a bummer. It's prophecy. Prophesize object type. Maybe that just means I need to fix this test too. Maybe I don't need to be using prophecy for any of that. So I'm going to run vendor bin. I'm going to what? Whoa, where? Oh, shoot. That's why. So I'm going to analyze it on my local because it's a little bit easier here. Oh, shoot. Did it freeze? There we go. Get deprecated rule test, strict comparisons because I have Drupal 8 locally. That's ND test. Let's do I'm going to ignore this next line. It's weird that it knows how to find those, but not. Oh, because they're inside the test module, not actually inside Drupal core. ND test. Right. What line is that? 83. Entity type manager gets dynamic storage extension test. So that needs to move. That needs to be refactored. Deprecation rules test. Oh, rules get deprecated. That's fine. I'm going to do a push. And what is this? Remove, analyze, space, push it, and see what GitHub returns. And start working on some of the harder problems. GitHub PR create. Fix remaining test and analysis errors. Submit. And we got a pull request now. All right, let that run and go back to these tests that are failing. All right, so get deprecated service test rule. That's failing because I have Drupal 8 and not 9, which means it's also going to fail in my tests possibly. All right, let's figure out how I can test this better without having to do all this mocking, because maybe I was just overdoing it. So let's see here. Why was I prophesizing this entity type? Entity type. Why did I need the entity type? If entity type equals to null, this method call expression class. I feel like I was doing things too hard here. So this test get class x equals blah, assert equals x get class. What? Get entity type manager, get storage dynamic return extension. Oh, okay. It's verifying that it returns the correct class. Sure. Excuse me. Get type. So maybe this is one where we need to extend the phpstan test case. Let's do private extension. And again, oh, we can't quite do that. because the extension requires some mapping. Mapping being like right here. So data provider, method reflection, will return get storage. I guess that's why, because I was writing code and I didn't want to actually have to invoke the broker. This method reflection gets storage. Is method supported? Assert true. Is supported. So let's see. I just did this in the reflection, but again, that means I got a class and analyzed that class. phpstan is still failing on 9 8.0 because I have that check on the constant. So I'll need to just phpstan. I'm just going to have to ignore next line on all of these. There. Makes that happy. That will always fail. Let's try and fix this. So I don't need to use prophecy at all. So let's do x equals is method supported. So I need to do a let's do this, create provider, get I want to generate, I need to create a method reflection. So dummy. Oh, here we go. We'll just do that. Maybe. Dummy. Reflection dummy. Is this inside the test? No. Dummy property reflection. Let's see where this is used inside phpstan. Dummy reflection. Nothing found. Well, that's where we go to phpstan source. Dummy reflection, type traits, get unresolved, has method type, unresolved, dummy mix type. Is static, is private, is public, is true, get name. That seems like it would be useful. So let's just see again, method reflection. If I did PHP, I have to come up with all of these things, declaring class, which is more reflections, and I'm way too lazy for that. Resolved, method reflection. So let's just do this. Let's do valid equals new dummy method reflection. One moment. So get storage. And this should work. So valid. Let's run this. Is not covered by backwards compatibility promise. I guess we should all, yeah, is method supported? What does this go into? So usually this seems to be is method supported, stats, simple XML. Yeah, just checks the, I guess I need to add a dummy one, but I don't want to. Man. All right. How would you create a method reflection? Dynamic method return type. Oh, wait a second. Hold on. Wait a second. Oh, I think I got it now. So reflection equals this, create reflection provider, get class, entity type, manager, class, is supported. So extension is supported, and we would say class reflect, get method, get storage, method name. Oh, or scope. Wait a second. Didn't we do, what did I do here? Property reflection. No, it'd be this get method. It needs a scope, class member aware. What is it? Out of class scope. So we'll just do a new out of class scope and see if this passes. It does. Awesome. Great. So we'll do then we'll do the same here. Invalid. So if we come across like this get access control handler, which is on the so get access control handler is on the entity type manager. We run it. Awesome. So I was able to replace the prophecy call there. Let's try to do the same thing up here. Let's get class. All right. Let's do this. All right. So why did I make this more complicated? So right here, this is get storage, which I can copy. Let's call this. Actually, what did it suggest? Let's do. Keep hitting other keys. So reflection. If is string entity type, X is there. X for reflect extension, and then the get storage method. So we'll call this method reflection equals method reflection variance. What? All right. Man, I went down the rabbit hole by doing all this mocking instead of testing things. So scope, mutating scope, which actually we could do a what did I new out of class scope? That should be fine. So scope. So X get type from method call should be just the method reflection. And the scope. actually want the mutating scope, which is, let's see, test case, get container, get parser, create broker, reflection provider, reflectors, create scope factory. Right, that might be it. So this creates scope factory. One second. I know this is in case. Reflection provider. There we go. So reflection provider and type specifier. Ooh, create. Oh. Scope context create. Oh, man. New self. Begin file. This file. Enter class. All right. There's got to be an easier way to test whatever I'm testing. To find out that get type specifier is not found here. Let's see. Let's get type specifier. Let's back up for a minute. So entity type. Oh, this prophesies reveal. That's not it. If we're past a string, assume it's a class name to be mocked. So let's do a. So we're given new string node, method call, static call. What? So the first value is an entity type, and it's get entity storage provider. Node, null. Method call, or concat, or static call. I don't even understand what I was writing here. That's the worst part. I don't know why entity type reveal new argument. Okay, because I'm mocking an argument call. New string. But why? I guess to show that it's like a default. Like if it's not a known entity type, we default to something else. So let's just change this all around. Yeah, I made this way too difficult. So I'm gonna clean this up. Method reflection. Get name. X. What did I do? Is method supported? Get storage. Get type from method call. Okay. So that is what I'm trying to do here. So if any type is null, this expect expectation, get method call from. That seems weird. Why would I do this? So method call. So it creates a method call. Why do I have a method call? So that way I can get the type from method call. Dynamic method return type extension. Let's look at the tests. I am definitely over my head right now. phpstan, reflection, type. All right. Implements method reflection, dynamic return type extension. Look at source, reflection. Where does the dynamic method return type even live? Inside type. Never mind, it's inside type. Dynamic return type extension. So let's look at those tests. phpstan type. Nothing in there, man. All right, I gotta find a way to test this more easily. So get type from method call. For pass a string and assume as a class name to be mocked. That just seems ridiculous. So arg, that's right, because it's a new, it has to be converted to an argument. And that's just too hard. So I don't need to test this. No, I don't need to test that. Let's just have this be, yeah, user doesn't have a custom storage. So these should be fine as is. Entity type as an argument. So let's change this to be a string and unwrap these to make it simpler. For the record, this is code that I wrote in the beginning of phpstan-drupal. So it's about 2 years old that I'm revisiting right now. So I have no idea. All right, string is entity type. Null, it's not null. So we have the method call here. Method call, the variable holding the object, which would be, actually would be the reflection. Property alias. I don't even know. Method call, new expression, the variable holding the object. Let's look at GitHub Lara Stan. So I'm hoping they have examples in here. So source types, they've got to have dynamic return types. Relation dynamic return type extension, great. Is method supported? Get type from method call. All right. Let's look at tests, type, relation, collection dynamic. Sure. This gather assets, assert. Test file asserts. Type inference test case. What's this? Process a file. File asserts. Oh. Well, maybe this is what I need to do. So data collection filter. Assert type. Collect. No, that's use function assert type. Assert type. So support collection make. Oh, it's all static. I don't want static stubs. Assert type user all items each. Where does this items each come from? Assert type collection from key. Oh, wait. Collection stubs, what does it say at the top? Okay, so it explains what they are here. So maybe I can. I'm not sure. To be honest, I'm at the point where I'd rather just drop it, drop the test, and then try to make it work. If function name, get expected type, assert. So it's too hard. Type inference test case. Assert expected type, actual type. Process the file. Solver. Yeah, that's probably the way I need to go, but that feels like so much extra work right now. But it's probably easier than this. So if we get the type from the method call, return type, select single, method reflection, get variance. So we have that, get the return type, parameters required. If arg1 is instance of method call, if it's not instance of constant string type, I guess we could just handle it here. Value, and if we have the value, return the object type. Generic object type. What is generic object type over subtracted type equals accepts? I don't. So scope, so it wants this interface, which is only available. Interface scope, which is only available from the mutating scope when analyzing. And when we analyze files, we need to have a fixture available. Man. All right, I'm going to try this. Let's make a new. I'm just going to make a file called make a new directory called type, make a new directory data. Let's move this test into type. But for it to work, it's going to need to know how to read from Drupal. Let's just entity type manager.php namespace entity type manager get storage. We'll use this function and ATM equals Drupal entity type manager assert type. So we're going to assert that the type is here from get storage node. Let's just start with this. I don't know where to go. So we'll start there, and we're going to extend the, what is it? It's types, stubs, the type inference test case. What's it do? So data file asserts. That's here. So let's do a any style. Test is method supported. Just create a new method down here. Public function test file asserts void. And also I need to copy, or I need to do a use additional configs trait so that way it knows how to read Drupal. And then just this assert files, this gather. Hold on. Yield from, okay. Say yield from this gather data any type manager. Public function test void. Parameter files missing. Okay, I can't do it this way. I need to do a public function. What is it? Data file asserts iterable yield from copy, copy, copy. Data provider, data file insert asserts. And we run the test and see how badly it explodes. No test executed. Assert type. What is this? Expected type entity storage was returned. Okay, so phpstan reading it. That's great, but why did my test not execute? Iterable yield from helper make static stubs. Let's look here. helper make static stubs. Why is this not working? So namespace, sure. Use assert type. Why is it not yielding anything? So gather asset types, this process file. If node is not instance of, oh man, I'm getting my phone blown up today. Let's do a debug session. Oh, what's going on here? Oh, because it still thinks I have PHP 7.4, which now means I probably have to redo my Xdebug. No, I don't. All right. So let's step down. Assert. We're going to step into this process file. Step up. Oh, now we're into the Drupal autoloader. And we're getting to there. Return asserts. Asserts is 1. All right. That's what I would expect. Type entity manager. Step through it. Get provider data. Data is not equal to null. Return data. Return test. I'm in. Whoa. All right, it passed. Sweet. Let's just break it real quick with 2 Ds. So this should fail. I want to see a failure. All right. Awesome. Actuals node search. Holy crap, it worked. I don't believe this. Sweet. So I need to just purge all of that code. So entity type manager. The asserts we have for user. So if we duplicate, we say user, we expect it just to be the generic entity storage interface. If we do search API index, I add this one by default. We expect it to be the search API config entity storage. That means I can delete all of this code up here, which is better because I can actually then delete this because this code is only used is defined in here. All right, let's look at entity storage. Entity type manager, new cert. I don't even need to do this test anymore then down here. Let's clean this up even more. I don't need to verify that runs against the class because I have a type of inference test. Oh, this is so much more cleaned up. I'm loving it. One second. I want to fix whatever it wants me to define for the mixed. That's good enough. Data provider. So if we run that, let's run it one more time. Because I have to cut right at 4 and call back a few people and jump another call. Error. Unable to find provider specified test file search is invalid. Let's run it again and see if it's one of those weird quirks with running these tests. Made a failure. All right. Expected. Oh, cool. There's right here. Actual Drupal user storage interface. Yeah. I really love using prophecy to mock certain things, but then being able to rip it out is beautiful as well. Oh, I don't have this as a default extension. Let's see. I do not. Oh, duh, because the test data had it mocked. I'm silly. So entity storage interface, that works out great to show this. one thing that it does not do, and I wonder if we could, is looking up the entity type mapping or the actual entity type to determine if it's a config entity or a return type selector. It'd be neat to get so let's do, let's see, to do get entity type class reflection and return proper storage for entity type. Example, config storage, SQL content, entity storage, etc. That would be really awesome to do instead of the generic entity storage. Return type select single, because that returns from the parent definition. Oh man, I am happy. I am happy now. Because I can run what file? How did I have? Oh, because I was using the bundled prophecy, not actually the bridge. So let's run the analyze. Expected type. Oh, why is... Oh, I don't want this to actually be scanned. GitHub.com, phpstan source. What do they, how do they scan their own test code and ignore paths? Source, they don't scan their own tests. But I'm sure it's done here. Build, wait. Baseline. Build phpstan.neon test, and doesn't, oh, exclude paths. Here we go. So let's add that into this line. So paths, and then it's anything that's test data we want to ignore. So boom, run it. That's not working out how I thought. So test source data, come on. At this point, since it's a one-off, I'm going to, so paths. All right, deprecation rules test. This is busted, and you know what? I was just having it verify that deprecated code is being returned, and that's covered in a different package. So I'm deleting that, and get deprecated service rule. Well, I guess I am having to ignore that as well right there. And here. So I guess that's pretty much not being analyzed. No error to ignore. Report. GitHub.com and Lamin Drupal check. I got to figure out one setting. So yeah, I know that usually there's like 2 asterisks involved for globbing. So maybe I was wondering if that's the problem. Source command, check command. So Drupal check just is, it generates an on the fly. There we go. It generates on the fly a phpstan.neon and then executes. And we're going to say true. Oh wait, no, we don't. Never mind. False. We don't want to report unmatched errors. Come on. File analyzer for each keys, temporary files. Well, I don't want this to report. Report if this is false. Oh, wait. No, this is it. Come on now. Maybe it's a cache, but I gotta run. So I'm gonna commit this and remove remaining unported. I don't know. Use that as a commit message. All right, there we go. We'll go look at this pull request really quick. I think it's going to be darn close to being done. The test should pass. I just got to wait for something to verify the analysis is passing because my local is not. Thanks again, Palantir, for the sponsored time because it has made pushing through this a lot easier because I'm not doing it on my nights and weekends. So thanks again, and thanks again for tuning in. I will be back tomorrow working on phpstan itself for some PHP 8 compatibility. And then I go, of course, next week, rinse and repeat all over again. So thanks for hanging out. Bye.